And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, even those that are down under. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the AC Show, the coolest show on YouTube. I am Aaron, a.k.a. the Handy Outdoor Nerd, and this sexy gentleman over here is...
I'm Chris, a.k.a. Mr. Carroll Science.
And apparently you have achieved some Zelda award.
Yeah, well, that's my ringtone. That was my phone telling me, hey, the Handy Outdoor Nerd just went live.
Yeah, so I tagged a boatload of people in it because Brian Vines last time was unable to watch it because it didn't notify him until after the stream was over that we were live.
Yeah.
So I hinted at a surprise. Chris now knows what the surprise is.
It's like Christmas.
Were you really surprised to find out what
I was? Yeah, I was actually. I
was dying. So
I was actually not expecting that at all.
So everybody, here is the surprise for this week's show.
What up? About dang time.
It's C-Dub in the house. C-Dub himself.
I've been trying to get him on the show for pretty much this entire year and some of last year, and he says yeah, thanks but no thanks usually, or yeah, I'm not feeling it. So yeah, finally got C-Dub in the house. I was tempted to invite Jimmy as well, but we had Jimmy on not that long ago, and I wanted to let C-Dub have free reign without Mr. Giggles.
Oh,
come on, man. Without Mr. Giggles.
See, I want to have them both on again at the same time.
It's the Calvin and Jimmy show, man.
Well, I know, but I wanted to give Calvin time to actually be on, get his feet wet again in an actual streaming show. So
it's been a long darn time since I've been streaming, and half the reason why is because the moment the whole school shutting down and stuff happened, all of my classes had to move online. And one thing that some of you guys may or may not know is I love doing videos, don't get me wrong, but I find actually doing live streaming really stressful. Yeah. And having to do live streaming like 4 times a week, and then having to deal with classmates you don't really like in there, and it just got really, really draining. So it's like, that's the reason why I wasn't doing live streaming for a while, is I was just so burnt out on live streaming. I'm just like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to burn myself out on doing videos. So yeah, it was just kind of like I eventually got to the point where I'm like, I'm not touching that for a while. But now it's like the other day I decided to do the stream of designing up stuff for my friend's train, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get back into doing just more some like little chill streaming, like I'm just hanging out and designing stuff, and kind of wanted to move the channel back in that direction again. So it's kind of like, but I was like, you know what? It's 2 guys that I know. There's not going to hopefully be too much drama. I might as well break out there again, because Jimmy and I have been talking about getting back into streaming, but things have been busy on his end, things have been busy on my end, so it's just kind of a case of eventually Giggles and Facepalm will meet up, and
Giggles and Facepalm.
Well, we do tributes to you whenever Jimmy is on or something, I'll go.
I would expect nothing less, because somebody has to do the Calvin Facepalm, which is like practically my...
It is,
I'm still waiting for the Harry Calvin model, man.
I'm
waiting on.
So we actually talked about this with Jimmy, since you didn't watch the show. We need pictures of your head. We need at least 6 to 7 of them. You could get your hair put up in a man bun if you wanted. Have your
heck no, no man bun over here, dude.
Calvin, we know how much you're a fan of the man bun.
To get the hair up out of the way, get a net to hold it up. I don't care. But in Blender, there's this face sculpt thing to where there's a default head that's in there, and you align the eyes, mouth, and just every different angle you take with it, and it actually creates the person's face by doing that. It is ridiculously crazy, and we all know that 3D printing professor does a lot of stuff in Blender, and I figured maybe we can get him to do that, and then we can finally get a Harry Calvin model.
You know what would be really funny is if Joe was able to pull that off, is as a joke, if we could model up something that this is a friend's locomotive that's in for some repair work, but if we could model something up so that the front smoke box could have my face on it, then we could officially have Calvin the engine.
Calvin the train engine?
Yeah, something like that.
We just need to do face swap with Thomas the train.
Yeah. Wellbot started that joke a long time ago that one of my trains needed my face on it, and I'm like, I think I would give kids nightmares for months about it, but it'd be totally worth it.
So let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in chat. We've got 3D Print Viking, we got Wellbot, we got OneRaz,
DB3D Dan.
and as I keep going down, we got DB3D Dan. And I know there's some more. So it says we've got about 5 people in there. So thank you, everybody, for joining in. And I see that Brian Vines has yet to tag in there because, I specifically tagged him since he complained that he could not watch the live one last time. So no complaining, Brian. No complaining at all. You were tagged. You even liked it and retweeted it.
Well, about talking about Calvin getting his nails done and his hair did.
Oh gosh.
With that
that
man bun.
Oh no, heck no. Heck no.
So tell everybody what you have been up to since you've been MIA, Calvin.
Well, okay, yeah, I've been slightly MIA. So do you guys want to hear the full, I'll abbreviate it because the full history is really long, but if you guys want to hear the partial history of how things have been, and part of the reason why I've been so MIA because of the whole school shutdown and whatnot. If you guys want to know, that's cool. If not, it's perfectly fine. Let me know either way, because I don't want to offend anybody in the chat.
I think if anybody's going to be offended, they're not here.
Cool. Okay, I'm just making sure.
I mean, we're not a big channel, and I'm fine with that. We do it because we enjoy doing this. This is the only way that Chris and I truly get to hang out, and that we get, especially right now with all this COVID stuff going on. Even though it's coming into summer, things have let up other places with COVID. It's still the only way a lot of us can hang out on any sort of regular basis. So especially, people who are poor that can't afford to go to maker fairs that are, a bunch of people. Although, the Murph was canceled this year because of COVID and all that. So, I mean, sucks that it was, but they did the virtual maker fair.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
There's been a few of those, right? I think I've seen 3 or 4 virtual maker fairs.
Yeah, there was one last month around the 23rd, I think. We actually talked about it. So.
No, that's cool. I mean, I will say it's like a lot of all the train shows pretty much at least up till Labor Day at this point are just, they're not happening. They've been axed, which really sucks because that's kind of like my version of Maker Faire. It's like, that's where I go to hang out and see people and things like that. But yeah, I get it. So pretty much what happened was, if you guys aren't familiar, I attend San Francisco State University up in San Francisco. And the crazy thing was I was talking to my instructors about stuff, and it was like, they're talking about maybe the school's going to have to, shut down for a few weeks and we'll come back after spring break and things like that. And I remember I was coming back with my classmate Sarah, who is in the Race That Never Happened video, and we were coming back from, the next morning was supposed to be the race for her cart. I was helping her and a couple other classmates, and we were walking down the hallway, and I run into an instructor that I know and a classmate, and they're talking. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, did you hear the campus is shut down? And I'm like the last person to know about things. I'm like, wait, what? What?
Hey, Brian, you finally decided to join.
What up, brain?
So pretty much I figured out what was up, and I rode the streetcar and the bus to get to from where I was renting at to school, and I couldn't pack a whole lot of stuff with me, so I'm like running into the lab to grab what camera equipment I can and things like that, because I was going to leave it in my locker overnight thinking we're going to race the next morning. I'm like, there's no point in, hauling it all with me back home and then haul it back over again. So I grab all of that, and the next morning I get a frantic text from my classmate going, can you swing on by campus because I need to get some stuff out and I forget where it is in your locker? And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. Because our lockers are very tiny, so we both shared a locker. I had some stuff, she had some of my stuff, and we shared some stuff in there. So it worked out really good. But then when it came time to who had what in what locker, it was kind of confusing. So I blasted on over there and ran into an instructor that I knew who was like, yeah, I figured out this morning the campus was closed. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not the last person to find out about this. But pretty much at that point, I pretty much just went back to where I was renting and just loaded up as much stuff as I could into my car and just hightailed it straight down to Jimmy's place, which is about 2.5 hours south. Downloaded my car, raced back up to San Francisco. I did that like 2 or 3 times because I had a couple of printers with me. I had my train stuff. I had my model making stuff. I had a lot of stuff with me thinking that I'm going to need this for the semester. So I had a lot of crap with me. And I was just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, okay, well, Salinas hasn't shut down yet, so we're good. So I get into Salinas after all that, and I'm like, okay, we're good, we're good. And then that night, Jimmy's like, yeah, did you hear Salinas is shutting down tonight? And I'm like, oh, shoot, no. So I literally go and reload my car with like my most essential stuff because everybody was talking about all this stuff being over in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll just throw my printers in that I need to film with and some of my train stuff, and we'll be good. Whoop. And I told my instructor, I was like, I am not sure if I'm going to have to drive through the night or not to get to my parents' house before everything, because we didn't know the extent of how things were going to be. I told her I might or might not be able to make it into class. She goes, okay, don't worry about it. Just, email me either way. So I know you got home safe. Don't worry about it. So I left Jimmy's at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I didn't get to my parents' house, which is about 6 hours away, 6.5 hours away, till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I pretty much pull up to the house, crawl out of my car, and just flop in my bed and wake up at like 10 the next morning like, hi, everybody. I'm exhausted and I'm here. And I'm not going to class later today because I'm dead.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much the start of everything having to be online. And just because of how everybody in an online class just behaves differently. And then there were technical difficulties like crazy. And then projects got canceled and all this other stuff. It was not a very fun semester in that regard. I had a lot of projects planned with classmates that I was going to film that got canceled, and it was a mess. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened with that. So that's part of the reason why I just kind of vanished from doing stuff. I still was making videos and whatnot, but I was just so burnt out at the end of every week. I'm just like, I really don't feel like doing a crazy project this week. I'm just going to put something together and we're done. But yeah, that's pretty much what's been up. And now that that's been over and I've had a couple of weeks to just kind of forget about it all, I'm kind of like, okay, I need to get back into the swing of things because I've still had a steady, income from ad revenue, them paying me peanuts and things like that. But I'm like, I really want to get back to just doing projects. And that's kind of what the heart of the channel is. And I'm also getting a bit burnt out dealing with all the Chads and Karens on 3D printing pages who just want to sit there and comment all the time. What settings do you use for your printer? And I'm just like, please, just stop it. So I'm kind of trying to, I'm not saying I'm not going to do how-to videos with printers, but I'm really just trying to move away from that because I'm just kind of feeling like there is so much information out there. Me putting out yet another video about how to do something very basic is not going to help anything, especially if you guys are just going to sit there and whinge about it. So I want to get back to doing more fun projects like, this one is one of the locomotives that I worked on with my friend. It's a modification of it, but I want to get back to doing videos about fun projects like this or me just building stuff. And I also want to try and show how to design things because I'm noticing a lot of people are curious about how to go about doing that. And That's kind of where I'm trying to get back to instead of, hi, how to change out your nozzle on your printer. Okay, so we're going to heat up the heater block, and we're going to wait 2 minutes, and then we're going to, I'm like, you know what? There's so much of that out there. I want to get back to what I enjoy doing. So why not? But yeah, that's pretty much what's been up with that. So yeah, but it's good to get back into kind of the more positive side of the community and realize that not everybody is a complete and utter blithering idiot. So that's also very nice.
Yeah.
So I leave it at that.
So that's what Calvin's been up to.
Yeah, sorry if that was really long-winded and rambling, everybody.
No, that's fine. So, but yeah, I mean, you and I talk now and again on Twitter, in messages, which is nice, just kind of keeping, in touch with people. So that's just one thing. It's just nice to do. And I know you do a lot of modeling with the trains and all that. So I got a question for you. If I were to get a resin printer, what resin printer should I get?
Oh gosh, the honest reality is
There's
I had
a boatload of them, and there's different price ranges and different sizes for the build volume.
I mean, honestly, I can't even remember the last time that I touched my Pia Poly Moa, which I feel is kind of a disservice to it. But with the whole hard to find alcohol and things like that, I just haven't wanted to do it. But honestly, that's a really hard question because you can either go super duper cheap like a Anycubic Photon or
What's the
Mars. Yeah,
Photon?
it's the Anycubic Photon. It's
What's the price
small.
range? I mean, sorry.
Oh, sub 500, probably in the $300-$400 range. Tack on at least $100 extra for like an ultrasonic cleaner, cleaning supplies, 18 tons of gloves and PPE equipment. But honestly, I would say if you're going to get into resin printing, and I'm definitely going to put a major caveat here, that it's extremely messy. The main reason why I stopped doing it is because
I know. I 100% understand it is messy.
And the other reason why I stopped using it is I actually started to notice I was getting slightly sensitized to the resin. So I'm like, okay, that's a bad thing. So I intentionally stopped doing it for a long time, hoping that maybe it would help should I get any accidental skin contact with it. But yeah, I would say start out cheap just in case you end up figuring out that, you know what, as cool as it is, it absolutely freaking sucks. And one thing I will say is there's a reason why I pay an outside company to print my parts for me. It's because they have to deal with all the mess. They have to deal with all the stuff. I don't. I just have to hope and pray that when the UPS guy rolls up in about 2 weeks, all my parts are good. So there's a reason why, even though I know how to do lots of printing, I ship the work out to other people, is because it's actually cheaper for me to pay somebody else to do the print work for me than it is for me to sit there and try and print it myself. And I will say that this is using the HP Multijet Fusion, so it's binding resin that's sprayed into nylon powder, which acts as a filler and a support material. But it's like this print right here, I think was about $35-$40 to get printed, which, considering it's mostly dead space and they're charging you for the volume that's used in the printer, including the dead space, really wasn't a bad price. But it's extremely tough. The quality of this is actually really good. It looks rougher than it is, but it's like I couldn't print this myself and finish it to this quality for $35. So in that case, it's just kind of like, you know what? It's cheaper and easier to pay somebody to do it and wait 2 weeks for it to show up than attempt to do it myself and spend hours trying to finish it. So there's my caveat on why I pay people to do stuff. But I would say look into a low-cost machine because resin is not cheap. All the supplies for it are not cheap, and just in case you end up figuring out that you hate it, I would say start cheap and go from there, because most of resin printing is going to be tiny stuff anyways, because the time involved is just
and that's
astronomical.
It's just like super tiny detailed things. Like we had Jeff on here, and he did like part of his lightsaber that he 3D printed with the resin because it's so tiny. It was perfect for that, And now and again, I'll do minis, and if I want to do a mini that I don't want to have to, deal with as much weird layered supports like
What was
Yeah.
that little? I think it was a failed Kickstarter that what you put your phone underneath it.
Oh, the
What was that
Olo.
one? The
Zero.
Olo.
And then that
Olo.
became the Oh No, which was like nobody knows why they changed their name to Oh No, but we think it was like a satirical joke on everybody, like, oh no, I backed something on Kickstarter that's probably never going to turn out.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to see that thing work. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to see it work just to prove myself wrong, but there were just so many things about it that I'm just like, no, there are so many variables already in resin printing that it's like there is no way on earth Bob with his cell phone is going to be able to pull that off realistically. And I was just like, great concept, but if cell phone screens are so cheap, why don't you just build it into the printer for like an extra $100? You know, I think
Good
it
point,
was, I think it's something that was either very far ahead of its time or just was a terrible idea, but people are such suckers for, I can stick my phone in it, that I think that's the reason why people fell for it. Is, I mean, look at all like those little pop things that go on the back of your phone and like money clips and all that
I
stuff.
think we live in a very VR positive world. Everyone's looking for some sort of a virtual reality. I can put my phone in and do whatever I want. Put my phone in here, put my phone in here.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. You had to make sure your phone stayed charged, and you had to make sure, like, do not disturb. No notifications would pop up.
Yeah,
Can you,
I mean,
can you imagine your image, printing, and all of a sudden there's this random like text message bubble like attached to the side of it. That would be awesome. You could just leave your phone in there, not with airplane mode on, and just leave it in there for like a day and just like see what prints at the end of the day.
It'd be awesome.
oh my
Text
gosh.
messages, pictures from your sister, her kids playing and whatever. It'd be great, man.
I mean, the other thing that concerns me is burning. If it has to be running at a really bright intensity with like that on and off, even though
Screen
the odds of burning are low, it could happen over time if you were doing the same thing over and over again. It's just like, it's great. It's one of those ideas where I'm like, I commend their bravery in trying something new, but I also question their stupidity in trying something that new and that untested, and then just hoping that a bunch of people are going to blindly throw money at it. To me, it was a slight insult to people as well, but you know what? I'm not going to tell people where to put their $100. I mean, I know somebody who dropped $100 on it, but he's like, you know what? If it doesn't work, to me, $100 is nothing, so what the heck? And when it didn't work out, he was like, you know what? Didn't work out, no big deal. But I know a lot of people got super bent out of shape about it, so it's just kind of like, well...
I think more people got bent out of shape when my brain just went dead. My wife backed a printer for me. The
Tico.
when the Tico failed. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
The people were livid. They were livid. They were
Well, the thing is,
and griping that, I want my money back. And I understand one aspect of wanting your money back. One, when you do the Kickstarter, it's like doing a scratcher's ticket. That money's spent. That's how you look at it. Tico charged people a shipping fee. That should have been paid back because of that. They weren't getting their printers. You took extra money for shipping and
Right.
you shipped it. That's the only thing I could see. But there was talk of, let's do a class action lawsuit against them, and like, let's sign a petition. I'm just like, it's not.
Well, they don't have any money. They don't have any money. They spent it all. They spent every penny, and it was like update after update after update, and they dragged it on for years. And they kept updating on the website, going, we're almost here, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there.
And then
Until eventually-
we possibly have this, this company who's gonna, take over and just help us out, blah blah, do this, and no, they backed out.
Did you see their print farm?
Yeah.
My instinct was like, you've got a print farm that's got like 200 printers in it. Why not just send those printers to some of the people that backed it? At least your highest backers.
Well, here's the thing. Dan Japman got one to test. I don't remember if he backed it or not.
I think he
But-
did, and then somebody got one in and couldn't get it to work, so they sent it to him, but it pretty much just turned into a wall ornament because he could get it to work, but
Yeah.
it was just super finicky, and it also, I think it used like a cloud-based slicing thing, and then when that died, it was pretty much like you had to.
It was a cloud-based slicer, and anybody that's got a Tico now can't use that software because
Yeah. And that's, I mean, and I'm very much old school. There's a reason why I use an SD card or a USB stick in my printer. I don't like the idea of connecting my machine to Wi-Fi, even if it's a secured connection, just in case something goes wrong. As I used to, at an old job, we got in a Type A Series 1 Pro, which you could only use over the internet. I absolutely hated that thing because the web interface would lock up all the time, so you had to restart it to get to do anything, and then it would forget what the printer was doing. It was just like, I don't like web interfaces. I like to just put my stuff on the printer and have the printer independent of things just in case. I mean, sure, I can't turn it off remotely, but if I really want to, I could be one of those people with a security camera and a USB outlet. But it's like, you just get to the point where you're just like, you know what? If the printer's going to fail, the printer's going to fail. So be it. You know, I've thankfully I have a very high success rate and things go wrong, but heck, even on the commercial side, things go wrong. I mean, it's like I got some prints in and mysteriously yet again, the chassis on one of my prints is missing. So I got to email the company and be like, hi, can you please make a note when these are running to tell the guys in production to make sure they pull the chassis out of the tumbler as well, because it's getting a little bit old having to email you every single other print going, hi, this part didn't make it in the box. ... Then wait another 2 weeks for a replacement to come, and I'm just like, I need to know that this is going to work before I commit to doing a big order. But proof, hey, even the professionals have bad days. Things go wrong.
Speaking of Wi-Fi printers,
Yes.
are you guys familiar with YouTuber Olin Rogers?
No.
A few years ago, he made a video that went viral that was called Ghost in the Stalls, where he pretended that he was a ghost in the Target bathroom. And the guy next to him go to the bathroom and he just lets out this violent scream, and then the guy tries to look underneath the stall and he pops his feet up. So anyways, he made another video about how he mooned his neighbor through his wireless printer by taking a picture of his behind and then printing it off on his neighbor's printer. And then his neighbor shows up. Is this you? And then he's like, I just realized I inadvertently mooned myself. But anyway, I always thought it would be really funny to see somebody use somebody's wireless printer and print something random off, just like print off a Harry Calvin on somebody's wireless printer, like when they weren't expecting, like, what the heck is this thing that just randomly showed up?
See, this is actually supposed to be wireless printer, a FlashForge Finder. It won't connect over wireless, which is fine. I run it off of USB stick all the time anyway, so.
You know,
What?
my Monoprice is wireless, where it connects to the internet, and then you send the print, and it just sends the G code over Wi-Fi and saves that G code onto the SD card. So it's not that you're printing from the cloud; you're actually sending it to the SD card wirelessly, and then it prints from the SD card. So if it disconnects from the internet after it starts, there's no problem.
Yep.
I mean, that is actually pretty handy. We do a similar thing at work. We'll actually just airdrop the G-code files to a folder in the machine, and then we'll just pick them out as needed. Now, something like that with USB is nice. I won't lie, especially if it's like you're at work or something and you have somebody at the house and you're like, hey, you know, I dropped the new file on the printer. Can you hit go? Now, something like that with USB is nice. So, you know, that I like, but even then, you could definitely have, a Harry Calvin print when you thought you sent the updated file or something. So even there's possibility for things to go wrong. But something like that, I could actually get a little more behind. But it's like trying to set up anything over Wi-Fi to me is just like it's always a pain in the butt. So it's like I just stick with the old fashioned method for that reason. But I'm also very much like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's also me too. So,
Well, that definitely makes it wireless, Brian.
Yeah, Brian says he's got a printer that doesn't have any electronics on it, so it's wireless.
I just got out dad joke there. That's great.
Brian is the king of dad jokes. I used to think I was really good at dad jokes until Brian showed up in my life, and now I just don't even try.
Sorry, Chris. I think Brian has a couple more years of dad jokes on you. I hate to break it to
you. He's probably been a dad for longer.
Brian came out of the womb doing dad jokes.
Brian was born a dad, is what you're saying?
Oh gosh. There are some people who just totally get dad jokes, and there's some people who just absolutely fail at them. Brian definitely is in the I get dad jokes department. I say no more.
So my son keeps wanting me to show you something. So if anybody who knows me, which is not very many people, but my son's been doing this garden, and he's been really, really proud of it. We've made a video about him planting his garden. He was really, really excited about it. And today we had our first little harvest from his garden. And we got this gigantic zucchini out of his garden. It's huge, man.
Now, are you zucchini bread?
It's right.
Probably, because I don't like zucchini, but I like zucchini bread. So
it's right.
That's probably how it's going to work out. But yeah, he's really excited. Our garden, it's getting there, man. We got a few squash that need to be picked. I'm probably going to have to pick some squash and then pull the squash out of my garden because they're getting so big. My zucchini leaves, the leaves on that thing are about this big around, and it's just shading all the rest of my plants. And so I'm probably going to just pick what I got right now and then just pull the plants out so that we can let the other stuff survive.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is impressive.
One thing I really like about like squash, like butternut squash or zucchini, you take the zucchini most of the times and you just you peel the skin off of it, then you shred it. Hey, Steve Carroll.
It's Steve Carell, the guy from The Office. Wow. Somebody advertising this? Tweet this out.
I knew hitting up Jim was a good idea.
Yeah, John Krasinski. So did you see that he's gonna be a news anchor now?
Who is?
Have you seen this? Do you know who John Krasinski is?
Yeah, I definitely am familiar with Jim from The Office.
Yeah, so you know that he made that YouTube channel SGN, Some Good News.
Yeah.
And so a news corporation, yeah, I see. A news corporation, I can't remember which channel it was. They loved the idea of the show, and so they hired John Krasinski as a news anchor so he can continue doing Some Good News on their news channel.
That is awesome.
So he no longer owns the rights to Some Good News then.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I can tell you this from working in broadcast television because the station I work at now, whenever the first one I worked at, this guy who did this FYI channel, the name he used for it, he cannot use anymore because they've got the rights to it. So, yeah.
Speaking of Steve Carell, any of you guys had a chance to catch an episode of Space Force on Netflix?
Yep.
Not yet. I've been meaning to watch it, but I get sucked into other TV shows before I get there. But I've been meaning to watch it just because I'm dying to see how his character plays out. Because I'm familiar with him from The Office and from, I think it's Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, where he takes on more of like a dark humor role. And then what else is he in? Oh, I can't remember. He's in so many different things where they're kind of
40-year-old
cameos.
Jen.
I started watching that, but it was a little too graphic, so I stopped.
Yeah,
He's
the Space
Despicable
Force
Me.
Despicable Me grew gold.
Yes.
I-
Yes.
Yeah. But my
He's
So
done
I-
so many
the-
movies.
I watched Space Force and it was okay. There was a couple of politically charged things where they definitely were poking a little fun at the president and the first lady, even in one episode. And it was definitely our current president and first lady they were poking fun at. But whatever. It was funny anyways. But there was definitely some language in it. There was they say the F word a lot. So
Yeah, we've
children discretion.
we've watched a couple of episodes. So
I mean, I will say the one thing that I don't like about shows on Netflix is I wish they had like two modes, like the television version, which obviously has to be a lot more like the daytime TV version, which obviously has to be a lot more censored. And I wish they had the internet version, because it's like there's a movie that I like to watch called Living in Oblivion, which is pretty much a movie about making a movie that has like Peter Dinklage and Steve Buscemi and like a whole bunch of other big name people, but they're making it look like it's this really low budget film that they're working on, which makes it really funny. But the problem is the not made for TV version is like super heavy with swearing and adult themes and stuff. It's a really good movie to watch, but it's like the TV version, I'm so used to that, which is like somewhat cut down and not as
yeah, it's the
intense.
watered down version.
The thing is the Netflix originals, they've got two modes. They've got either super adult or made for 5-year-olds, and they don't have anything that like families can enjoy together, which is pretty annoying, honestly. I've been pretty annoyed with Netflix.
I mean, it's like I said, the daytime TV version and then the like uncensored version. I mean, it's like that way you can pick and choose what you want. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I've been meaning to watch it though, just for the sake of saying that I've seen it. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I'm also a little bit of a cynic, so I tend to hold off on that stuff. But it's like, you know what? If you don't like it, there's always Drugs Inc. You can go back to that. Watch like the 3 episodes that are still up on Netflix. So it's like, okay, I can do that or watch whatever else. So it's like, oh well.
Yep. So yeah, and it's not like Netflix does not have a lot of stuff on there. If you really want to be a nerd and grew up in the time, well, I mean, you're how old, Calvin? 28, 29?
28.
So 28, 30, 1,
32.
2. That's right, 32.
Just turned 32. It's just my birthday this last
30,
week.
33.
So,
Oh man, Mr. Carroll Science is the old man in here.
You can find Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and a bunch of other Power Rangers on Netflix. They've got like all of them pretty much.
I just today I turned on Avatar: The Last Airbender
Yes,
for
because-
Elliot, because Elliot's at an age where he still likes all the really little kid shows like Paw Patrol and Blaze and the Monster Machines and stuff like that. But I'm like, dude, you're getting too old for this. You need something a little bit bigger. And so I've been looking for some cartoons that he can actually like.
Sonic.
So yeah, he likes Sonic too, actually. So
Have you let him watch Sonic Underground?
the only Sonic that I have seen,
The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Underground.
I know Sonic X is on Netflix, and so I think
And there's
he's been
Sonic
watching that.
X.
I think he's been watching Sonic X on Netflix.
So, but yep. So yeah. So does anybody in chat have any questions?
Ryan says burb.
Brian,
if he's in,
we don't need to know that you burped.
if it's anything like my friend Scott, it's drink some coffee and then 2 seconds later run to the bathroom and then run back for 5 minutes and repeat every 5 minutes as needed. You know, when you get up to that age, you know, the bathroom is your friend.
When you get to be 52 like Ryan. I need to go out to my garden tonight and go see what else that I can pick. I just kind of went out there and I saw this gigantic zucchini sticking out. I was like, "Jeez, what is that?" And I don't even know. It's been a couple weeks since I've been out there. I've just been making sure Elliot waters it every day, and so I went out and checked it tonight. And I got to go back out there and see what else that I can pick.
Yeah. So one thing that
Oh, Dan's got a question.
purple.
Purple.
I wouldn't even begin to know the answer to that, so I'm not
I
even
would
gonna
say
try.
a paler blue.
So Calvin this week actually had commented on a post that I had posted on Twitter. And so what was your thoughts on that, Calvin?
Oh gosh, which one was that? I can't even remember.
Could have popped my tire?
Not ringing a bell.
The entire truckload of lumber that I brought?
Oh, yes, that. Sorry, I've seen so much crap, literal and figurative this week. My brain can't remember. Yes, that was impressive, although I'm surprised your truck didn't just do like a wheelie the whole way home.
Oh, it was I will get to that. Calvin Wellbot wants to know if you want him to put your actual face on the train model.
Oh, please, Wellbot.
Yes,
Please, Garth. If you
See that.
please,
You are fantastic at organic modeling, Wellbot. So yes,
we need his hair like flowing back though from like the speed
do
of
it.
the
You're
train,
like the Fabio hair.
Oh,
What we need is like the side profile kind of like that of the people on like the hood of a car where they're kind of like leaning forwards with the speed. We need me kind of doing like that, you know, like giving a thumbs up or something. Make it clear this train's not doing 10 skill miles an hour.
Calvin, you gotta start right here and then just go real slow, and then Wellbot can just do some screenshots.
I'll have to get some next time I see Danielle. I'll have to get her to take a bunch of photos of me. There we go.
So whenever I was driving the truck, I was loading it up. I wasn't planning on getting that much wood in the truck. I was shopping when they were getting in the office, and so actually my plan was trying to get some more lumber for shelving. Well, I was talking to the guy that I've gotten lumber for him before, and he goes, "Well, I'll make you a deal. Whatever you can fit in your truck, you can get for this price." Because he asked me how much I had, and he goes, "Well, you can get it for that much." I had just shy of $60. So I got all that lumber in my truck. Those boards I had, we had to cut the boards in half because they were 20 to 30 feet long.
Oh my gosh! What kind of wood is? You said it's white oak.
It's white oak, and some pieces are like 2 inches thick.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
some that you get the crotch of the tree where it's like 20 some inches wide. So I cannot fit it into my planer on some of those boards. But my plan is to get them out and underneath my solar panels with some treated lumber and then some actual non-treated on top of that, so it's not sitting on treated lumber, sucking in that moisture from it and all that into the actual wood. do that, and then do the little slats of wood in between to get that airflow so they dry. Because it'll be several months before that's actually ready to be used, and that's taken up pretty much half of my shop.
I can imagine.
But
I mean,
yeah,
all-
I don't know how much it weighed, but to go 12 miles took me an hour. And I know it was over 1,000 pounds. I know it had to be under 3,000 pounds because I'm pretty sure my tires would have exploded or something. You know, something would have happened with my truck. My truck wouldn't have bounced back.
You need a headache rack.
So
You need to put a headache rack on your truck. You know what that is? I don't know what they're called everywhere. In Arizona, it's called a headache rack. You know what a headache rack is?
Yeah, just like a roof, kind of like a rooftop.
Yeah,
rack
it's like
thing. But don't give
like
them.
a metal. It's like a metal thing that comes up off of your truck bed, so that you can lay stuff all the way across, like even on top of your truck, so you can haul really long things. And then
Yeah.
it disperses the weight between both wheels instead of just on the back wheels.
yeah, that would be
Brian, hey woodchucks, quit chucking that wood. You know, Brian, my church, we put on a Pinewood Derby for it was a daddy-daughter Pinewood Derby. So all the dads in my church got together with their daughters, and we gave them out these little Pinewood Derby cars, and they made their own little Pinewood Derby cars. My dad wanted to do a Pinewood Derby with my sister who lives in Phoenix, and so she drove over for the weekend so that she could be part of this. And my dad's car that he created was called Woodchuck's Revenge. What do they call it? What is that?
What's what?
one of those mask holders.
I
It's
see that's
Ghostbusters.
Oh, I see. Now I see. Hey,
That is cool.
I printed so I've got them sliced on there. And so there's the original one and the second, obviously. So those were actually free files. I can actually share that in the bio if anybody wants those to print, because they're pretty cool. And the cool thing about this was you get those that are raised up off there so that they will hold, and you can kind of tell exactly where they're setting. And I didn't have to change the size of this. The superhero ones that I did and sent off to somebody in California just this week. Well, I sent them off this week. I printed them a week or two ago. I had to scale them down. This, my build plate is 150 square. I did not change it. All I did was rotate it corner to corner. Even the ones that I rotated corner to corner, the superhero ones, I still had to scale them. So
That's
actually
cool though.
they designed it so you could print it on a smaller print bag.
Yeah.
But all you have to do is rotate it. And I mean, it's melting. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, see, that's better. I can see it now. I couldn't see it when it was like, yeah, I couldn't see it when you first pulled it out. Now I can see it. That looks cool.
That is really cool.
So a guy I work with, he asked if I'd print it for him. Because his wife works in a hospital. So I printed one for him, took it to work, and I said I'll get him another one. And he's got kids too, and he asked if I'd print some superhero ones as well. So I will be printing some superhero ones again for him.
Right.
And he had asked me to, said certain ones, and my brain was just tired, so I wasn't retaining which ones. I think it's Spider-Man, Batman and Wonder Woman. Maybe another one in there. So, but yeah. So the interesting thing is how people actually think, people are going to charge for these, and people could. I could charge for printing these for people and sending them to them. The guy that I printed them for in California, it's for his mom and his brother who work at a hospital. And he asked what I would charge for it. And I told him they work in a hospital, no charge. I sent it on my own dime. I didn't even charge shipping.
Hey,
Why not? They risk their lives. The least I could do is pay them. So it's filament I have. Cost me a couple of dollars to ship it to them. So, but the only thing I actually did, which I planned on doing anyways, I got myself a P.O. box, a home address on something for people I don't know. Like to Calvin, yeah, okay, I'd send something to Calvin.
One of these days when I get big like you, Aaron, and
well, I also had my Starfleet insignia pin necklace that I saw on my Etsy store. Someone had ordered it, so I had to send that as well, and I didn't want to use my home address.
right.
So
One of these days I'll get a PO box for sending and shipping things that are for people that I don't know. But at this point, the only people who send me things are you and Calvin. So,
so tell people the last thing I sent you, Chris.
what's that?
What was the last thing I sent you?
Oh yeah, something like 1,200 sticks of gum. I was trying to do the math.
Not just any gum.
Oh, juicy fruit. Well, pink strawberry strawberry Starburst juicy fruit. Yeah.
Sugar free.
Sugar free. Yeah, because I'm diabetic. So, although in the grand scheme of things, the amount of sugar that's actually in a stick of gum, it's really not that much. Like,
No, it's not.
so,
But you got a crap load of gum.
but let me tell you, I got gum to last me a while. When I get hungry, those days during the apocalypse when there's no food around, and my son comes to me and says, "Father, I'm starving." Keep chewing that gum, son.
So,
Oh man, that was a good one.
but yeah. So I mean, I'm not trying to sit there and down porn with sending that to the person, but I feel that us as makers, we don't necessarily have a responsibility to do this, but taking upon ourselves have a responsibility to help out and do this for people. And it was the least I could do for someone. And the person hit me up on Instagram, on my Handy Outdoor Nerd Instagram. So why not? I mean, I thought Calvin's out there in California. Chris Russell's in California. Jeff is in Vegas. I mean, there's all these people that are out there that I know that there's a lot closer that could send it that I could have put up. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to send it. Don't worry about it. So.
I mean, it's like when the whole pandemic thing hit, I did a little bit of printing for the Matter Hackers parts drive and stuff, but what bugged me is when I went on all these 3D printing pages and people thought that they could just start their own, PPE company in their garage, and I'm just like, no. These face masks, I don't want to sound insulting to the people who are making them, but they're really crappy. And the reality is the actual usefulness of them, I'm actually kind of dubious of, because it really turned out in the end that they really weren't used as much by ER docs, and ER docs were talking to places like Tap Plastics on actually how to build useful stuff. So I kind of felt like, things like ear savers and stuff are smart. And if somebody asks you to print them a face shield or something, that's good. But when people just thought that they could just print hundreds of thousands of these, I'm like, no, this is merely a stopgap measure until companies can start injection molding. Because I'm like, in the time
they weren't long lasting.
No. And sanitation was an issue, and there were just a whole bunch of problems. And I'm just like, I appreciated the drive of people wanting to help. Don't get me wrong. I totally commend that. But at the same time, I'm just sitting there kind of like, I think we're kind of making things worse instead of better. Let's leave it to the professionals to actually come to us and ask for stuff instead of us crowding up their day going, hey, I think I got something. And they're like, that's great, but I really don't have time for that. Wait a couple of days, we'll have something proper. So yeah, I'm definitely not knocking the people who have done stuff to help. And I figured, I had the resources to do it, but it got frustrating when people literally depleted all the filament supplies from everywhere. And I'm just like, no, don't. Or they were like, oh, I'm going to charge for it. And I'm just like, go away. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got several schools of filament. Some that I've not opened that's actually useful, so mint condition. But I'm saving certain ones for certain types of products. We've got a carbon filament, so it's PLA. But I was like, that'd be fun to try on something. But I usually use other regular PLA for something like that, because this is Overture. With Overture, you get a build plate, like build tack, that you can slap on. My Kitty Tech, I actually replaced it with the Overture one, and they've actually got a grid pattern that you can measure to get your actual size of your build plate you need it to be. So it's so that one is 150, 140 millimeters around there. So you can do increments of 10 for the actual surface they give you.
That's cool.
And the funny thing is, if you order like a 6-pack of it, you literally get 6 of those surfaces that you could put on something, because each thing of film is one.
That's cool.
But I mean, if you do 3D pen drawing or something, you can use that for it instead of buying something. Stick it to a surface. Heck, make a big 3D printer. Just get a boatload of those things and just slap it to it, because they stick to it. So there you go. There's your build tag surface.
Ivan Miranda.
Yep. Or Viking, if you're still in chat.
I'm probably gonna have to get going here. My kids are starting to get a little antsy. It's getting late. I need to get in bed.
100%. It's been about an hour, so any closing thoughts you have, Mr. Calvin?
Honestly, not a whole lot, other than I guess just in general, this is directed towards the community in general, mostly towards the Chads and the Karens. For all the awesomeness that's out there, it does get a bit discouraging when you go onto pages to help out, and it's just nothing but people just constantly fighting. So it's like, just in general, it's like just try and be nice to each other and stuff like that, and just realize that just because I do it my way doesn't mean it's the right way. You know, and I just say that in general, and I'm not picking on anybody in general, but it's just as a general thing. It's frustrating when you go onto a page as an unpaid person to try and help out, and everybody's like, and I'm just like, come on. Or don't rely on a Facebook page to tell you how good or bad a machine is, because all you're going to get on there is 95% of everybody screaming, going, this thing is a piece of crap. And I'm like, really? You don't know what you're doing. I mean, I've seen some very scary stuff on there where I'm like, I've literally wrote in there like, I don't think you deserve to own a 3D printer. Please put it back in the box inside the back because you do not know what you are doing and you are a danger to yourself and others. But just in general, I would just, try and be more respectful of each other. Realize that, as awesome as the maker community is, we're not going to save the world, and I don't say that in a negative sense. I say it in a realistic sense. I mean, we've done some amazing things, but keep your expectations realistic, but just, go out there though and do awesome stuff. I mean, that's pretty much all I got to say. And shout out to you two guys for being, and Jimmy and everybody else as well, for just being cool and level-headed and there for each other. I mean, that's something that we all need in this crazy time. Is somebody who's not pulling a check on us is actually gonna, be there, be kind of like a pillar. So yeah, I think pretty much closing thoughts, going to try and help people who really just want to sit there and idle, just like, get a life. I'm not paid to help you, but I'm doing it twice. But if you want to act like that, I got better things to do with my time.
Brian,
So yeah,
did you level your bed?
that's that. Did you check your E-steps? Did you plug in your ribbon cables? Your ribbon cables are causing bed
you
problems,
check
and I'm
your
just like,
Upgrade this.
I'm going to seriously. When the reality is, they probably just didn't plug it into the wall. I mean, I think I'm going to do, as a satirical joke, I think I'm going to do a video on like the most annoying crap people say on 3D printing groups that's just total garbage. Or there might be a little bit of truth to it, but it's so oversaid that it's a joke. I think I'm just going to like dress up as like some really annoyed person and just like swap back and forth between printers and be like, yeah, my printer should have been here 3 weeks ago, but I bought it from Banggood, so they're probably banging it up really good right now or something like that. And then cut to a shot like somebody just like beating on a box, like, oh yeah, we're beating it really good over here. Or just like throwing the box up to your door.
I want a scene in that video where the printer's like literally on fire and you're just like, what do I do? How do I fix this? And somebody's like, is the bed level?
I seriously wanted to do that. Okay, one thing that I really want to do with the printer that I'm going to stick a different hot end on, so it doesn't matter if I totally destroy the hot end, is I really want to see, though, what happens. And there's no way to map the temperature, and that's perfectly fine. But I want to see if it's possible to have the printer just sitting there with the hot end plugged into its power source and just run a camera for like 5 or 10 minutes and just see what it does. Because I understand people think that the machine's just going to spontaneously combust. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm genuinely curious to see what it's going to do. Is it going to actually melt the hot end?
Do a dry run with no filament and then one with filament in there.
Well, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm just going to have like a dud print underneath there that's not going to be directly touching, but I want to have it a little bit above to fake like the filament stopped flowing and then it had a thermal runaway. But I want to see if like, say we'll just say like 2 inches above. It's I mean, you could do what you want to make it more realistic, but the point is I want to see what happens in a 5-minute span of if I were to just keep the power plugged into the hot end, what is actually going to happen. That's what I want to see, because people make all kinds of wild claims, and you know what? Only one way to find out. Let's go into Writers Laboratories on it and create a worst case scenario and see what the heck it does. I mean,
yep.
And go from there. But I think honestly, doing something like that and making the disclaimer that, look, this is very much a theoretical situation, but this is purely just to see what happens, I think would actually be pretty interesting, just to show people, hey, this is what happens, and
yep, it can
make
happen.
up your own conclusions from it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen. I mean, MOSFETs do frying the on position on boards. It's a known issue, which is why I think a thermal fuse is a good idea, but that's another story altogether. But the point is, it's just kind of like, let's create a bad situation. Let's just leave it be, and let's just see what the heck it does, because everybody fights over what it's going to do. So it's like, well, only one way to find out.
True. So,
yeah.
All right, Chris, you got any closing comments?
All I gotta say is, hope everybody's staying safe. Love and care about you guys, and thank you so much for watching.
So, on that note, guys, be kind, rewind, and we'll catch you next week on this guy's channel. So, thank you everybody for joining us this week.
The lesser channel with fewer subscribers.
thank you so much for finally coming on the show, and have a good time just talking. We greatly appreciate it. And Brian, Dan, Steve, Wellbot, Thomas, One Raz, everybody that's just within the chat or just watching. If you're watching this later on, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel, Chris's channel, C-Dub's channel down there. He's got pretty good content, making. He will show you on designing things in Fusion 360 more than I've been doing. So we greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, and we will catch you next week, everybody. So until then, happy making. Take care.